It is the 7th of April, 2025. Hundreds of thousands of Americans turned into millions in all 50 states from all walks of life, gathering together to say no at the edge of the abyss, under the American flag, facing forward against a tyrant who was menacing us all, baring his teeth and making perfectly clear that he aims to burn down what the founders created, what Abraham Lincoln saved, and Martin Luther King and John Lewis and 1,000 other men and women of the civil rights movement redeemed. This is the warning. Donald Trump's decline is as obvious as his nonsense talk. Let's watch.
Any questions?
How was the golf tournament?
Very good, because I won.
As global markets swirl in chaos, as $11 trillion in wealth has evaporated from people's 401ks and pensions, as Social Security teeters under the weight of the Doge attack, Donald Trump, well, we're not winning, but Donald won the golf tournament. He arrived there on HMX-1, Marine One, landing on the golf course at Doral, his, for the Saudi Live Golf Tournament. Now, this matters. Laura Loomer says 9/11, George Bush did it. The reality is 15 Saudis and 4 other terrorists, 19 men, commanded by Osama bin Laden and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, attacked the United States, destroyed the World Trade Center, and killed thousands of people, among them every single person who worked for Howard Lutnick and his brother. Trump landed to sip champagne with Saudi Arabia over jihad golf. Now, here's the thing. While Trump was landing, something else was happening. Something that Donald Trump, let's be honest about this, he doesn't give a fuck about. And that is the death of 4 American soldiers in Lithuania on a training exercise. Americans are lied to all the time on Fox News. They're told that we are being ripped off, that the countries that are part of the free world disrespect the United States. I'm going to prove that lie wrong. Here are the streets lined in Vilnius for the 4 dead American soldiers. Trump did not go to Dover Air Force Base for the dignified transfer ceremony as they came home to shattered families and broken hearts. Donald was swinging the club at Doral after setting the world on fire economically. And he is surrounded by imbeciles like the Secretary of Agriculture. Let's watch her on television beclown herself.
I have no doubt that I speak on behalf of President Trump when he would say he has the utmost confidence in the team and what they have built and what they have put together. And we are unleashing a new golden age, and we will see an economy that will benefit not just every corner of America, but our farmers and our ranchers and the people that have been left behind for far too long by both Republicans and Democrats.
None of this is true, and it will be a catastrophe for the American family, for the American consumer. Now, let's get back to Howard Lutnick. Laura Loomer, the conspiracy theorist, who says, despite the intelligence that implicates the Saudi government, that implicates Saudi intelligence agencies, that implicates members of the Saudi royal family, Laura Loomer insists it was George Bush. And so she came up to the White House to sit in the Oval Office with Pat Summerall's daughter, Susie Wiles, the Aunt Lydia of the West Wing. Now, you know how corrupt the media is when Susie Wiles is portrayed as the adult in the room. She's the gray-haired fascist grandma in the room. Susie Wiles and Donald Trump and Laura Loomer and Howard Lutnick. And this is the meeting where Laura Loomer hands over the secret dossier that leads to the expungement immediately, firing of the plotters, those disloyal to the leader on the National Security Council staff. Laura Loomer, conspiracy nut from Florida, a 7-star skank, she has that power. And Howard Lutnick, who, by fortune, by chance, the grace of God, survives 9/11. 900 plus employees killed, his brother killed. You want to know the dimensions of Howard Lutnick's scumbaggery? How weak he is, how sick he is, how morally contaminated this man is? He sat there in that meeting next to that woman who said his employees, his friends, his colleagues, and his brother was killed by George Bush, and decency did not compel him to raise so much as a whisper. Nothing. And this man of hideously deformed character has a proposition for you. His proposition is trust Trump, because Trump's been talking about all of this for 50 years. And though there's no room on the patio for the dead Cantor Fitzgerald traitors, there's room down there in Mar-a-Lago for Howard Lutnick. And of course, here's Bill Ackman on Twitter. There are few preening jackasses in an entire nation of 352 million people more preposterous, more distinguished, more obnoxious than Bill Ackman. Obviously, he has an eye for investment. It's made him a billionaire. Good for him. Bill Ackman thinks it's made him an expert in all things, everywhere, all at once. There's nothing that Bill Ackman doesn't have an opinion on. Nothing. Bill Ackman writes long screeds on X about all things, and he told the American people all sorts of crap. What does Bill Ackman think he'll be remembered for? Someday, people in this country will be pissing on the grave of that fascist, because there is no escape from this for him, for Marco Rubio, for Pete Hegseth, for Tulsi Gabbard, for Kristi Noem, these vandals who did this. The American economy is being plunged deliberately into a recession, and then it will become a depression. When people take to the streets and become more defiant, Donald Trump, he'll become more belligerent. And when government belligerence and officiousness that sits on a foundation of cruelty and bluster meets defiance, there is danger, and there will be violence. When that violence comes, provoked and stoked, incited and instigated, Donald Trump will use it as the excuse to turn the American military into a police force and flood it into the cities to assert control over people protesting peacefully that he will call terrorists. He will say the security needs are too great for there to be any more due process. The word of ICE is all that matters. Just ask Congresswoman Victoria Spatz of Indiana, a clown. She's an immigrant. She should know better because she had to take a test. Due process is the foundation of justice in free societies. We don't snatch anybody off the streets and stuff them in a van and ship them and sell them to a dictator in El Salvador or any other country in the United States of America. It is an abomination of the highest order. And the abominations will roll on and they will grow because what has been festering is now smoking, and on the edges, it's on fire. And it has been brought to us by corruption of unfathomable proportions. Corruption in the business world, corruption in the media, corruption in the big law firms, weakness everywhere. And when democracy grows weak and corrupt, fascism can rise. Thus, it is so again. And now we must put out this fire before it consumes everything. It will be said that there are two types of Senate seats, safe seats and competitive seats. And mostly the outcome of the election is known. Nonsense. Everything has changed now. The American people must constitute a tough as nails U.S. Senate majority with enough votes for a majority leader who knows how to exercise power that can remove Donald Trump from power if necessary and can remove a cabinet secretary from power if necessary. This will mean defeating Democratic senators in primaries, and it will mean taking on Republican senators in the states that have been disenfranchised by the DNC and disinvested from by the DNC, that have been ignored from by the DNC, that have been left behind from by the DNC, and that have been forgotten by national Democrats from coast to coast. Let there be, in this age of patriotic renewal and resurgence, no more flyover states when it comes to the opposition that is forming. We must be everywhere all at once, in every school board race, in every congressional seat, in every Senate race, and in every governor's race. The American flag must be raised high. We must march under it. We must march up onto the mountaintop that Dr. King talked about, from which he saw clearly what we will become. These days of pain will grow worse. They must be defied and met head on. They must be resisted. The anger of the protesters will grow. Outrage must not give way to rage. Peaceful protests are the moral core of what will bring Trump down. And that opposition that is moral is the opposition that will take command in the season of renewal to come, and that will punish these excesses and will break up the companies that threaten the liberty of the American people, restore competition to the American economy, restore sanity to American policy, and restore dignity to the Oval Office, which has been overrun by scumbaggery, conspiracy theorists, and the dreck of this country. There is no lower name in this land than Trump, and it will ever be so. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. I invite you to join this community where I promise to be honest, blunt, and direct about what is happening in this country. America is in crisis. Follow and subscribe to this channel and on Substack. Thank you.